Welcome to a very special presentation of Off Script. Here at NBC Sports, along with the NHL and NHLPA, we dedicate the month of November to raising cancer awareness through the Hockey Fights Cancer Initiative. Our own Eddie Olczyk is the ambassador for this year's campaign. I sat down with Edzo recently to learn about his battle with colon cancer and the impact that it had on his life. Eddie Olczyk, nice to have you. Welcome.
KT, thank you very much. Always great to see you and great to be with you.
You too. You have been so vocal about your fight and your battle to overcome colon cancer. So we're going to touch on that a little later on, but I want to get an update for the fans on how you're doing now.
You know what, KT, I feel very lucky and blessed. On February 21st of 2019 was 1 year to the day, 9:02 a.m. Central Time, is when I got unhooked for hopefully for the last time of my 6 months of chemotherapy for battling stage 3 colon cancer, and I feel really good. It's been a long battle. You know, I just feel very lucky. I didn't know what was going to happen at the end of the 6 months of my chemotherapy, and here we are a year out, and I'm feeling good. I got a clean bill of health. I had a follow-up colonoscopy, and my doctor said that my colon looks like a 21-year-old. So it's been a long time since I've been compared to any 21-year-old, and that makes me feel really good. And hopefully we're on the, we're on the right side of this moving forward. But update-wise, health, I couldn't be any better.
We've talked so many times off camera about the support that you have received from the hockey community. Yeah. What did that mean to you when you were going through this?
It meant the world to me. Everything started at home. My wife, Diana, of 30-plus years, she was and is the rock. She was a caretaker and a caregiver of seeing me at the lowest point in my life. Because there were times, KT, that when I started, first when we got the initial diagnosis, and then telling me that they were suggesting since 6 months of chemotherapy, we had never been touched by this disease, and went into it with our eyes open and very scared. And look, I'm still scared, because when you're a cancer patient and you're a survivor, you're still wondering, am I ever going to get by this? But it's always going to be with me, and that's okay. When I was weak, she was strong, and when I felt good, she felt great. If anybody's ever been around chemo, they know it tests your will to live. And for me, I got into my second treatment in late September of 17, and I couldn't control my bathroom issues. I was vomiting, I had bad headaches, I had nosebleeds, I had everything that you could imagine. And during my second treatment in our basement, where I pretty much lived for the 6 months and 17 hours a day, I would just, because I had a port in my chest where I would get the medicine, and I was just ready to quit. I was ready to bail. I was ready. I can't live like this. How am I going to get through today, let alone get to February 21st when my treatments were going to be stopped? And I told my wife, I quit. I'm done. And my wife grabbed me, and she looked at me, and she said, fight for me, fight for our kids, and fight for all the people that love you. And we cried, and I was hurting, and I felt like I was hurting her, but I needed that. I needed her to grab me and straighten me up and tell me to fight. And from that point on, I just said, okay, I'm going to go day to day. For how hard it is, I'm going to battle. And I needed that. And then you talk about the hockey community. My family here at NBC, I mean, our boss, Sam Flood, right off the bat, Sam was one of the first people I talked to when I got diagnosed with it. And he said, Edzo, whatever you need, we're here for you. We're family, and when you want to work, you work. If you don't want to work, that's okay. And it helped me get through. And when I would get texts from you guys and when I would get phone calls, it helped brighten up my day, because some of those days were pretty low.
And I could tell. There were certain times I would send a message. I could tell just based on your response if it was a good day, if it was an average day, if it was a not good day. When you were getting those messages, how much did they really uplift you? Because there's so much to be said about support that comes when you're going through a difficult time in life. But you are a perfect example of what that support really meant in those really trying times that you were just talking about.
I would go to Northwestern Hospital in Chicago on a Monday morning, and I would take 4 hours of chemo. And then they would send me home with a fanny pack, literally a fanny pack connected to the port in my chest where I would take the medicine. And I would wear that for 48 hours. And when I would be by myself, I would hear every 90 seconds, I would hear the machine just, it would just shoot the medicine into my body. And I'm wondering, okay, I know it's there to help me. I look awful. I feel awful. Am I going to be able to make it to that February 21st? And am I going to have to go back again? I didn't know that. But to get those texts and those calls and those emojis, which I've become pretty good with, it meant a lot. And I would encourage anybody out there that knows of somebody that is battling or is going through a difficult time to reach out to that person. And I mentioned the caretakers and caregivers a little bit earlier. I know that my wife, when she was not around me, she was going through a lot. I never saw her down. And it's become a mission of ours, both my wife and I, is that we want to make sure is that we're taking care and letting people know how important their caretakers and caregivers are of people that are in a battle. It doesn't have to be cancer, it could be anything. They may not be going through it physically, but they're going through a whole heck of a lot mentally. And like I said, I don't know how she did it. And I had incredible support from our hockey community, our horse racing community. And I couldn't have done it by myself, I know, because I was never a tough hockey player by any stretch. I had the willingness and want to go to tough areas to score goals in my NHL career. But I think I proved to myself I'm a little bit tougher than I thought I was when, beating this disease.
You earned your armor, that's for sure. When you look back, and you mentioned it was so tough physically going through the chemo treatments, you didn't feel good and you didn't look good. When you look back at photos of yourself and you see yourself on camera in the first couple of days when you came back and joined us on the NHL on NBC and also with your Blackhawks production, who's the person you see when you look back at those pictures?
I think I see somebody that was afraid to die. I had fair warning on what the medicine might do to me, physically and mentally, KT. I'm still scared. But when I look at some of those pictures, I was at peace, because if my time on this earth was over, that the people that meant the most to me, the sport that meant the most to me, knew what it meant and how I felt about them, and I think that's what helped get me through.
You mentioned having to tell your kids. Take me back to the initial diagnosis. How did it come about? Was there a red flag that came across your health situation that you realized something was wrong?
Well, one day I just woke up and I couldn't go to the bathroom. My wife and my kids went to see my father-in-law, and my best friend Dominic, I asked him to sleep over. Next thing you know, I wake up that night and I have 104 temperature and I was violently sick. So he rushed me to the hospital and they told me I had a blockage in my colon. And they had to go into my colon and figure out what was going on. And I'm like, it's like 5 in the morning. And my buddy Dominic said to me, maybe you should reach out for the Blackhawks team doctor. So I called Dr. Michael Terry, the head team doctor for the Blackhawks. And he took my call at 5:30 in the morning. He happened to be on the East Coast. And I said, hey, Doc, this is what's happened. And he just said, Edzo, leave it with me. We'll get you downtown to Northwestern Hospital in Chicago. And so they rushed me downtown to Northwestern. I had a stent inserted into my colon to help clean me out, to see what was going on. They did exploratory surgery. They told me I had a blockage in there and we needed to go get it. And then that's when I got really scared. So I had a 6.5-hour surgery where they took out 14 inches of my colon and took out the tumor the size of my fist. Then on August the 4th at 7:02 p.m., my phone rang. And to get a call from Northwestern Hospital on a Friday night at 7 o'clock is probably not a good call to get. And my wife happened to be standing in our bedroom right next to me because I was recovering from the surgery. And she says, you going to answer it? And I said, I can't, because I know what's on the other line. And she says, you have to answer it. So it rang probably 5 times, and then I leaned over and hit the green button to talk, and I said hello, and Dr. Scott Strong was on the other end, and I said, "Hey, Doc," and he goes, "Eddie, I just want to let you know we got the lab results back, and you have stage 3 colon cancer." And my heart stopped. On August the 4th at 7:02 p.m., my phone rang, and Dr. Scott Strong was on the other end, and I said, "Hey, Doc," and he goes, "Eddie, I just want to let you know we got the lab results back, and you have stage 3 colon cancer." And my heart stopped. And he said, "I'm suggesting that we start chemotherapy once you're back healthy after having your surgery." And I said, "Okay, Doc, appreciate it." And hung up the phone, and Diana and I had a moment, and we walked downstairs, and really for the first time in a long time, my kids happened to be at home on that night, because my kids are all over the country working or playing hockey, and to walk down those stairs was probably the hardest 50 feet I ever had to walk. And I think my wife pretty much prepped them and kind of felt that this news was coming. But to see the looks on their faces, it was really hard. It was really tough.
Did you have to prepare yourself going forward, knowing that you had to be the strong one for your children, as you have been your whole life as their father? You have 3 sons and a daughter. Did you know you had to find that strength as much as you had to fight through this yourself at that moment?
I'm glad it was me. I wouldn't be able to live if it was them. And that's how I looked at it, KT, that I'm glad it was me, because it tests your will to live. And you hurt for a lot of different reasons. I know that there were and are a lot more people way worse off than Eddie Olczyk ever was, and I know that. But I want to try to be an inspiration, KT, to one person to help them fight. Hey, if that guy can do it, that old hockey player, that broken down horse player can do it, I can do it. Or maybe, you know what? Somebody out there that is thinking about getting a colonoscopy. Or it's okay to raise your hand and go, I don't feel good. If I can help one person by hearing my story and what I went through, then it was worth me talking about it. And that is my goal and has been my goal. Look, cancer is always going to be with Eddie Olczyk the rest of my life, and that's okay. And maybe in the big picture, maybe that was part of the plan. And here we are.
Was there ever any hesitation, though, when it came to NBC and your fans to keep it private?
Initially, KT, I wish I wanted to just hide under a rock, but I'm not going to, you can't go into hiding. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But I think what we did was, with the Blackhawks, and they were great, they put out a statement, and NBC, Sam as well, Sam Flood, with a part of that statement that went out that I was sick and, I'll get back to work when I'm feeling like it. I think I almost felt better, KT, when it became public.
Like a weight was lifted
Yeah,
off?
I think that's exactly what it was. I just kind of like, you're hiding something this dramatic in your life. Is like, how long can I hide this? Look, there's an embarrassment too factor of this, because like I said earlier, KT, is like you feel like you let everybody down, like you feel like you let your family down, feel like you let, the Blackhawks down, NBC, your fans, the game of hockey, horse racing. You just, that's just the way that I felt. And when talking to a lot of people that have battled cancer, is that a lot of them felt the same way. As you just, you feel less. You feel, I mean, you're insecure, but you feel like, you're a burden on everybody. And that, I know that's not true, but that's just how you feel. And, but we were able to get through it.
You did something so smart to power through the surgery and the treatments that you were receiving, and it doesn't come of a surprise to anybody that knows you really well. You're very deliberate. You love your numbers. You love your systematic approach. You had a calendar, and you've mentioned so many dates along the way in the course of just this conversation. I mean, they're so poignant in where you were in your treatment at that point. Why was that so important to you to keep track of everything you were going through?
I went out to a Office Depot, and I got a big calendar. And I got a big, thick black Sharpie, and I marked off those chemo dates on there. And those were my mile markers. Because when I started my treatments, I'm like, okay, I got to get to certain points on the calendar that's going to help me forge through goals, right? I've always been a goal-oriented guy. And I'm like, okay, I got to get to my first game in St. Louis with Doc. That's one of my goals.
This guy said he would be back sooner rather than later. Are we ever glad it's sooner?
Well, Doc, it is great to be back, and I've had a lot of medicine here over the course of the last 6 weeks. But tonight is the best medicine I've had in such a long time, and I'd like to thank everybody that has sent well wishes, and it means a lot to me and my family.
I would circle those with a big green marker, like that's the target. And then it was like, okay, maybe I could be a part of the Breeders' Cup show. Then it's Thanksgiving. I could do some more games in Chicago. Then it's Christmas time. But as we're going along, every 2 weeks, I had the big black marker, and I would just put a big X every Monday, and okay, we're starting to chip them off, and we're starting to get there. And man, we're 17 days away. Like we're right there. So I think that really helped me get through the 6 months. Because when they tell you you're starting your treatments on September 11th of 17, you sit there and go, how am I going to get through the first one, let alone get to February 21st? Like, how is that? So I was like, okay, we just got to go baby steps.
You've provided so much hope and inspiration to so many people through your story, but you received a lot of hope on a phone call on March 14th, 2018 at 5:07 p.m. Tell me about that call, and was it the best phone call you've ever received?
Yeah. Well, was certainly waiting for the call. I was in my basement. My wife again was with me. The phone rang and it came up Northwestern. And Dr. Mulcahy was on the other line and said, Eddie, we got your test back and just want to let you know that you're cancer-free. And I think I just took a deep breath and just started crying, and I thanked her for her support. And because I go back, KT, when I had the initial consultation with Mary Mulcahy. So it was it was my wife, it was myself, and Dr. Mulcahy here in office. And I only remember 2.5 minutes of the 47-minute meeting that we had. And I had the 1,000-yard stare, and I'm like, am I really in a doctor's office talking about cancer, and I'm the one that has it? And I would just nod my head, I remember, and I really wasn't listening because I was scared, and I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. And she said, Eddie, look at me. And I looked at her, and she says, I am here to cure you, not treat you. Do you understand the difference? Took a deep breath and gulped a little bit, and I'm like, okay. So I'm recommending 6 months of chemotherapy. We're going to hit you. We're going to hit you hard because we think you can take it. I'm like, okay. I said, so you're telling me it's 6 months of hell for 50 more years? Is that what you're telling me? And she smiled, and she says, I hope so. I said, okay, where do I sign? I think I'd make a pretty good general manager or executive if I could make that deal, KT.
No kidding.
But that call on that day in March, will be something I never forget. And my wife and I hugged for a long time, and I thanked her. I would never be able to repay her for the support, and my friends, my family, and people out there. I would get phone calls from people that I have no idea who they were, and just say, "Hey Edzo, it's I'm from Happy Valley, and I used to watch your son Tommy at Penn State, and I just want to let you know I'm praying for you." Okay, great. I mean, but that's that made me feel good. But that was it was an emotional day, and then I got on the phone and called whoever I could call and just let them know that I was clean and clear.
When you got that news in March, did you just want to shout from the mountaintops and tell everybody? I mean, how did you process, how am I going to now communicate this wonderful news to everybody?
Well, I notified the most important people, and the people that kind of knew initially when I got sick. I wanted to make sure that they heard it from me. The kids and my folks and my friends and the hockey and horse racing community and the Blackhawks. And I was like, okay, well, we've shared this journey, and now we got to share the best part, because my great partner, my Hall of Fame partner in Chicago, the great Pat Foley, would give people updates all the time during the course of the season. And like, we made the announcement that I was sick together, and on TV, I think it was, okay, well, we've been very public with this, and people want to know. And again, in the big picture, KT, it was, I know I'm helping somebody out there, whether I know them or not.
It was special hearing Pat Foley saying the results are in. It was March 22nd, and you responded with, "We beat this thing."
I'm proud to stand here before everybody and you, my partner and my friend, that all the cancer is gone, and we beat this thing. And I say we because it has been a team effort.
Was that a conscious effort on your behalf to use that word "we"?
Well, because like I said earlier, I know I could not have done it by myself. I felt like I was on the greatest team ever assembled. And I felt like everybody was with me. And going back to the hockey part of this, is hockey is family. Hockey is team. It is we. It's not I did or no. If I was by myself, there's no way I would have made it. I know that. I know that. And that's okay. And I look for help, and I got a wave of help, and I'll be forever grateful.
A big thank you to Edzo for opening up on such an emotional subject. And to learn more about his story, you can check out his newly published memoir, Beating the Odds in Hockey and in Life. It's available wherever books are sold. And for more information on the Hockey Fights Cancer Initiative, including how to donate, please visit hockeyfightscancer.com. Thanks for watching.